So Elden Ring Nightreign released a couple days ago on Steam, PS5, Xbox Series consoles. Came out to some mixed reviews on Steam at least. I think it's fair. I think the game is enjoyable. It's fun. I enjoy playing it, I think. But I have some complaints, and I think they're very fair complaints. So I wanted to talk about it with you guys. All of the content that I'm going to be sharing here, I recorded it. It's all coming from PC, so just so you are aware of that. Starting out with the visuals, the visuals are fine. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's Elden Ring. They're using the same assets, pretty on par with other Soulsborne games. The movement is pretty much the exact same in the cutscenes as well as the open world. They did add a sprinting thing. That's cool, but nothing incredible. Honestly, it's just pretty on par with I would especially Elden Ring in terms of what it looks like. I think I have other complaints around the world, but that kind of ties more into gameplay. But at the end of the day, I mean it looks fine. As for performance, the game runs well. Didn't have too many issues. Only a couple spots where I had some frame stuttering, and I have only had one crash. That was around the 4 hour mark of playing the game. It wasn't like a continuous 4 hours. It was kind of split two and two. But I did have a crash at the end of one of the cycles. That was a little frustrating. Fortunately, I didn't lose any progress, so that's nice. But overall, at least on PC, I mean, performance seems fine. They do recommend using a. Here, actually, I'm gonna read it off. I'm not gonna remember. The recommended PC specifications is the 11th gen Intel Core i5, the Ryzen 5 5600 for your processors. It does recommend 16 gigabytes of RAM, and the recommended GPU is going to be a GTX 1070 or the RX Vega 56, each having about 8 gigabytes of VRAM. And I think that's fair. I think, based on the performance that I've had, I'm running a 3070 Ti. I think you should have no problem running this. I have, what do I have? I think I have the FX 8900 Ryzen chip, Ryzen 7. I honestly don't remember. It was new in 2023. 32 gigabytes of RAM and a 3070 Ti. I have no issues running it on high settings, which is what it defaulted to. Really quick before I move on, another part of the performance that I wanted to touch on, there does seem to be a level of input delay that I've been experiencing. I'll get into it a little bit later, but I did want to bring that up in performance. I don't know if that's intentional or not, or if it just wasn't optimized, but there seems to be a level of input delay that I at least don't remember there being in Elden Ring, as well as Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls Remastered. Same with Dark Souls 2. I played a little bit of that as well. So going into the story, I mean, it's pretty on par. There's not much happening. It's very on par with mainline Soulsborne entries. You don't really get a whole lot. You get an opening cinematic at the beginning, kind of tells you, oh, here's who you got to kill. At the end of the day, like, you got to piece together a lot of the lore yourself. Not for everybody. I don't really care. I'm more of a gameplay first kind of guy myself, so it doesn't really impact me too much. Yeah, you just get your main objective at the beginning, figure everything else as you go along, do a little bit of world building. But the downside of that, same with any other Soulsborne game, is there's going to be a lot that you miss on the first run through. I always recommend, if you're in it for the lore, just look up a guide to walk you through how to catch everything. I apologize I didn't get any footage of this, but it starts out in like a tutorial area of the country that you're in. I think it's still the lands between. A small little tutorial area where it kind of goes over all the new mechanics, as well as some of the old ones like how to move and how to attack and stuff like that. It ends with a boss against, I think it's called the Fell Omen, which is just Margit from Elden Ring. You get absolutely clobbered. I think you could beat it, right? There is a health bar. It goes down. I was not able to do that. I got absolutely demolished, and that's okay. It's more of a scripted loss, just like the majority of your first boss enemies in Elden Ring, or not even Elden Ring, but Soulsborne games are, especially like You look at Dark Souls and you look at, I can't remember if Bloodborne had that, but that's beside the point. So after you win or lose against that first boss, you get the story overview, that slideshow. I mean, it's very obvious that they don't care as much about this game. It feels like FromSoft did not care nearly as much about this game as they do Bloodborne and Elden Ring. The opening cinematic is just a bunch of slideshows. Normally they have some kind of, 3D animation, some kind of cutscene. This didn't have it. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, you can tell that they're just kind of doing this. I don't want to go as far to say that this is some kind of cash grab to an extent. Like, to an extent, I think it is a cash grab, but I think there is a level of care that does go into this game, but not the same as you would expect from Software with their other games such as Armored Core and the other Soulsborne games, which I will keep referencing because it really just kind of aligns with those. Basically, lore-wise, it's like an alternate timeline where the only thing that Elden Ring Nightreign has in common with just base Elden Ring is the shattering. And that seems to be the splitting point of these games' stories. So Elden Ring, we know the story if you've played it or looked it up. This game, a little bit different. It splits off at the shattering, and then you get these Night Lords that either appear or are created. I'm really not sure. And really the objective is go around and kill them. You play as one of eventually 8 characters. It starts out with 6, but you unlock them as you move along. You play as one of these characters in I have it written down here, sorry. The Nightfarers is the group, and the sole objective is to just go around, kill all the Night Lords, which ends the heavy rains that are created from these Night Lords that come by every single night. That's why it's called Nightreign, I think. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. I don't know. It's just my headcanon. That's how I make sense of that. Essentially, there's like this rain that comes by every night and just is like wiping away everything and changing like what the land looks like. You don't ever see that, but it's kind of alluded to like, hey, that's what's happening. So that's pretty much the story. It's not very heavy. Each character has their own backstory, which you can find as you play them. You unlock chapters, which can be found at the Round Table Hold, which does make its appearance again. That is the home base again for this game, which I don't have a problem with that. Good way to reuse an asset, really, and give you a little bit more like, hey, here's what the area around the Round Table looks like. But now, moving on to gameplay, this is where I get a little bit more critical. I don't know how I feel about the gameplay. I don't think that I'm necessarily a big fan. At its core, it has the DNA of a Soulsborne game, and that is good. But at the same time, you're very limited. Now, a core thing that I really appreciate in the Soulsborne games is the emphasis on exploration. Every single game, the sense of exploration has grown, and really at Elden Ring, it peaked. Like, you got your open world, you're going around exploring everything, and that was the biggest draw to it, and that's why everybody played this game. Maybe not everybody, but so many people played that game, and that's why it wins Game of the Year. That's why its DLC gets nominated for Game of the Year. This game doesn't have that. You're on a very limited time frame of doing things. So essentially how it works is you Fortnite Battle Pass off of an eagle into the land between, and you start going, you check your map, you go to all the different locations marked on the map, and then eventually a ring starts closing in, very similar to what you would see in a battle royale such as Fortnite or Apex Legends. I don't necessarily have an issue with that, but when the entire series is built around lore and exploration, and then they essentially strip that away by forcing you to play fast and on your toes, it doesn't really sit well with me. It's definitely for some people. There are going to be people that are like, this is awesome, this is exactly what I want, just high octane, high paced energy throughout the entire experience, and I can completely understand that. Just not really for me. There's a reason that I don't play a lot of battle royales anymore. One, I suck at them, and two, it's just You go in, you die, you do it again. I tend to not be a big fan of that style of game anymore as I've gotten older. One thing regarding gameplay that I do like, that is going to be different from your normal Soulsborne, sorry, had a brain fart, experience, is that it doesn't matter who you pick and what class they are. You can use any weapon or any item you're able to use, which I really appreciate. It gives a level of versatility to every single character. So if I'm playing as Iron Eye, who specializes in a bow, I can also pick up a great sword or a great bow, or I can pick up a twin blade. And that's something that I really appreciate, because there's going to be different instances where it's like, can't really use this bow in this battle. It doesn't do enough damage. I need something, with a little bit heavier hitting power. So that's something that I definitely really appreciate, and something that, while I understand the appeal of class building in different Soulsborne games, something that I wish was a little bit easier to accomplish in those games as well. So going back to the core gameplay loop, essentially works like this. You start in the round table hold. You select the target. You go to the table in the middle. You select the target that you want to go after. You can go solo. Don't recommend it, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But then you start matchmaking. If you're in a full party, you just jump right in. Otherwise, you matchmake with people in whatever region preferences that you've provided. And then you drop in, like I said, you go to different waypoints throughout the map, collect items, collect weapons, anything you might need to progress further, so that you can eventually go and defeat the Night Lord. How it works is the first night is when you land, the first day rather, you land, and then the circle closes in, and then it gets to that small singular point, a boss shows up, you beat the boss. That's the end of night 1. Then you go to day 2. Really, it's the exact same cycle. Nothing changes on the island at all, except that it's daytime again. You go all the way through, keep exploring, collecting items, and then you fight the second boss at the end of that. And then from there, you get transported to an alternate location for day 3, where you fight the Night Lord. It's an okay loop, right? My issue is that it is very, very repetitive. Like, you're doing the same thing every time, and for the most part, it's the exact same island every single time. Nothing really seems to change too much, at least from what I noticed. So that's a problem that I have, is it gets repetitive. Like, I'm currently 10 hours into the game, and I'm honestly a little bored in the sense of, what I'm doing, and it takes so long to get to day 3. It literally takes 40 minutes. And if you lose to the boss, you're basically losing all of that progress. So I'm not a huge fan of the gameplay loop. I can see the appeal, but I don't think it's for me. It just, in a way, it legitimately feels like a waste of time unless you win. And it's like, oh yeah, just win. But sometimes you can, and I'll go into that a little bit more. After you die or defeat the Night Lord, you go back to the round table hold, where you can make adjustments to your character, start building out some of the lore options. There's different stat items rather, that you can equip to your character. They are called relic rights. They give you little boosts to different attributes on your character. Nothing crazy, nothing astronomical. It's not like you're going to become overpowered like you would in any other Soulsborne game. I like it. There's variety in the different characters' play styles, and like I said before, as you continue the game on and on, you do unlock more. You start out with 6. Throughout the process of the entire game, you have the option to unlock 2 more. Looking at how they've built this game out, there's going to be more DLC options. There's going to be more characters added. I fully expect it. This game is going to have microtransactions. You can mark my word. One thing that I do want to add, one thing that I really like, is there is one at the end of each expedition that you go out and do, you have the option to watch your footprints. Similar to what they introduced in the DLC of Breath of the Wild, where they have that footprint thing. You look at the map and it shows your entire path throughout your entire adventure. They have that for each expedition, and I like that. I think that's a cool little touch. It's not necessary. At least, I've looked at it a couple times. I'm like, oh, wow, a little reminiscing or whatever. But what's really cool is that you go back to the round table hold, and there is a section where you can store 100 of your most recent expeditions, and you can it stores all of them, all of the footprint tracking, all of that. And I think that is awesome. And I think that's a cool add-on. It's not crucial, but it's a nice little touch that I really appreciate those kinds of small things. So far I've talked about a couple things that I like and a couple things that I don't like. There is a lot that I do not like about this game, enough that I have an entire page here dedicated to it, which is very unfortunate. I'm just going to kind of go through this. So my biggest complaint in this game is the noticeable input delay when it comes to everything. It feels like, it really impacts me when I'm trying to dodge or jump. You press the button and your thumb is off of the button before the action even happens. And that's insane to me that there's that level of input delay. And maybe I'm crazy, but I do not remember it being this bad with Dark Souls or Elden Ring, where I press a button, then he jumps, and then before he lands, I press the button again, and then the character jumps again. That is just an astronomical oversight for a game that's so reliant on your ability to time these things out and be able to react fast enough. I just think it's a huge negative impact, and I definitely notice it because a lot of this game is reusing assets from Elden Ring, which that is not a knock on the game. I fully support that approach to game development. That's how they were able to make, for example, Majora's Mask was made the same way, and that is considered a fantastic game, a fan favorite for the Legend of Zelda franchise. As you can see, I am one of them, not me personally, but I think that this practice should be used more, but I think that they really dropped the ball on that. I'm fighting some of the same enemies from Elden Ring, and these attacks that I have no issue dodging in Elden Ring, I am all of a sudden not able to dodge in Nightreign. And I know what people are going to say. It's a skill issue. You suck at video games. Both of those are accurate. However, I did do some research as well, and I am finding I'm not the only one with this issue. There are plenty of other people that have been experiencing this input delay. Don't know if it's necessarily a PC issue. I'm not sure. My buddy that I play with, he hasn't said anything about it, and he's also on PC, and I haven't looked into the console ports at all, and I don't intend on purchasing them myself, if I'm being honest. I would not buy this game a second time. It's just very disappointing that is an issue that I have to deal with this game. It's, and again, my last video I mentioned I had just played Expedition 33. That's a game where they got it perfect, I feel, where the timing is just right. There's, at least I don't notice any kind of bad input delay on that game with their dodging and parrying. And that is a game that is built around you have to do that to be good at that game. It's the same with Elden Ring, Nightreign, and I just feel like this is a big problem, and that is why I don't think that I think it really takes away from the game and the experience. I do not think this game is as fun as I would if that were not an issue. Another gripe I have with this game is the fast-paced gameplay, and I alluded to it earlier in the video. The Soulsborne games are built around world building. They're built around exploration, and this game, you do not have enough time to do that. You can't appreciate the world they built. I understand where that might be a little too nitty-gritty of a complaint, because at the end of the day, I get the argument of like, it's just the Elden Ring map, kind of. It's just the Elden Ring map. It's just Elden Ring assets. Who really cares? And I completely get that. But at the same time, there's just too much happening at once. Sometimes I want to be able to slow it down and really take it in. Play these Battle Royale games like Apex Legends or PUBG or Fortnite. They're not really built around, like the worlds aren't built to take in, right? They're not really built in that way, and that's why it works. Whereas this game's using Elden Ring assets, and I want to have time to explore the world. I want to be able to walk into the castle and not like die right away because the storm comes in and kills me. So it's not for me necessarily. I think it's definitely for some people, but for me, that's a knock. I wish it was a little, I don't know how to say it without contradicting myself, because I don't like the 40-minute gameplay loop, but I don't know. I don't think that this game should have been made. I'm not sure. My last and probably second or possibly biggest gripe about this game is with how they handle the community aspect of this game. So you are expected to play this game with two other people, whether it be two of your friends or two random people online. You better hope that you have two other people playing this game on the exact same version as you, whether it be PS5, Xbox Series, or PC, because there is not absolutely, but basically zero way to communicate with the people you're playing in the game. There's no voice chat, there's no text chat. The only thing you can do is ping and emote, and that's it. And sometimes that doesn't give enough information. And it's very frustrating that they're expecting you to play this game with two people no matter what, and you can't communicate with them. If they're really going to buy into the, hey, you have to have friends, which most people who play FromSoft games don't, they need a better pinging system. It's unacceptable that they released this game without something like what Apex Legends has. Like, the Apex Legends pinging system is incredible. You can spend an entire round without saying a single word to the people you're playing with and be able to have full, clear communication with them. And I'm not saying that I love Apex Legends. I used to play it, not a big fan of it anymore, and I really wasn't a huge fan of it then. That's a huge gripe I have, and that's a huge gripe I've seen online as well too. And I really think in 2025 to have a game like this, it's unacceptable to not have a better communication system for a game like this. But then there's also the issue of disconnecting players. So as I said before, you're pretty much expected to play this game with two other people, whether it be friends or whether it be randoms. There is no option for duo mode. You can either go in solo or you can go in with three people. You do not want to play this game solo. It is way too challenging. You can't play it duo because it's not an option. So realistically, you got to play it with two other people. And the issue comes into play of disconnecting players. When a player disconnects, you are expected to finish out that game, whether you die or whether you go through and die at the end. There's almost zero chance that you will be able to beat that cycle with only two people. And if you are, that's awesome. I'm glad that you're good at the game. But when you disconnect, you get a penalty. And it doesn't matter if you disconnect with a full party or less than a full party. So the expectation is if I'm playing with my buddy, someone disconnects, we're not allowed to disconnect because we'll get punished. We are technically expected to finish out the game, which is 40 minutes. And that it essentially becomes 40 minutes of wasted time. They need to come up with a better process for disconnections. If someone quits out, give the other people a chance to quit out as well too without punishing them. They should only punish the first person that exits out. I can't believe that is something that they're pushing so hard. And I think it's just genuinely not fair. And it really is, it becomes a matter of a waste of time, if you ask me. Basically, in conclusion of this entire review, at the end of the day, it's still a Soulsborne game. I think there is definitely something to say about that. Its DNA is still there. The challenge is still there. If that's the kind of thing you're into, then absolutely get it. Not a big fan of the high speed you have to go, but if you like Soulsborne games and you like them for like a boss rush kind of deal, then this is going to be the game for you, I think. Definitely give it a shot. I will say, I do enjoy the game. I enjoy the game. Fortunately, it's not a full price release. It is only $50. That is a huge saving grace for this game, because if it were $70, I would not recommend it to a majority of people. The diehards, I would absolutely recommend it to, but like if you played Elden Ring casually or it was your first experience to a Soulsborne game, I would not recommend Elden Ring Nightreign to you whatsoever. They need to fix input delay. They need to fix matchmaking. That's just, for me, it's a non-negotiable. Those are huge like point detractors for this game. And so at the end of the day, honestly, like it's an okay game. Very mid, and you'll see this across the board. That's why I say the Steam reviews very fair with mixed reviews. Me personally, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I could be persuaded to go 7 out of 10, but I feel pretty strong about 6 out of 10. Yeah, that's all I got for this game. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. I do want to hear from you as well too. If you've played this game and you disagree or you want to share your thoughts, please leave it in the comments below. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time.